This is Peter Robinson, and I'm in Portland, Oregon. I work at the WNTSC, and today's presentation is on collection creation and assigning workflows. Before I begin, I want to just emphasize that for the DMS tool, there's various places you can get support. There is a help folder within the CPD DMS. If you just look in that folder tree or that collection tree, you will find a help folder. There's some information there. At the various technical support centers, we have teams of people, and you can see their names listed there. Give them a call or drop them an email if there's something you can't figure out. What we'd like to encourage you to do, though, is to use the USDA Connect site if that's possible. If you have an answer, or if you have a question that doesn't need to be, that's not super high priority, that you don't need an answer that minute, if you go to USDA Connect and you do a search for conservation practice documents, you will find it. If you can't find it, send me an email. I'm peter.robinson, and I will send you the link. And finally, we have a bunch of YouTube videos, which I find very helpful. Some of them are short, some of them are long. And if, again, you can see the short URL that's on that screen, if you want to jot that down, and it's CPD DMS 2018, or if you just do a YouTube search for CPD DMS, you'll find it. Also, there's a link on the USDA Connect. So what I'm trying to emphasize here is there's a lot of sources for help, and if you have any issues at all, please give us a call, and we'll try to get you connected, hopefully answer your questions. Now, the rationale for these short webinars is people are busy. You don't necessarily want to sit through a 1-hour webinar to go over something that where 90% of the subjects aren't really something that you're having an issue with right now. So we've just chosen some subjects that we anticipate people might be having a problem with. However, go to the USDA Connect site and suggest topics that we can cover next week or the week after. We schedule this out for 4 sessions. If there's interest, we can do more. If you all know all the answers already after 4 weeks, we'll stop. But please contact us with questions and topics that you think that you need help with, or you think other people might need help with. Now, just a couple things about nomenclature. I'm going to call this the DMS. That's the tool, the CPD DMS. So when I say the DMS, I'm talking about the tool. And the other thing, as far as nomenclature, that icon that you're seeing on the screen, what is it? Well, everybody, I think, would say, first guess, it's a folder. Fair enough. But in the DMS, what we call it is a collection. And the only reason anybody really cares what we call it is all the commands within the DMS are going to refer to collections. So if you start looking for, hey, I want to edit a folder or create a folder, you're not going to find that command. You're going to find an edit collection or a delete collection command. So just remember, if I say the word folder, which I probably will, I mean collection. And the DMS term for that thing on the left, that icon is a collection. All right. So I want to start with some of these collections have a yellow icon in the middle of it. So what I did was I did a screenshot of all the water management engineering collections within the DMS. And you can see there's 24, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that have this kind of strange yellow icon in the middle of the folder. So what does that mean? Well, really it's a sign of bad DNA. You know, if you think of the tool, the DMS, as having evolved over time, this is kind of like the Neanderthal portion of the tool. It's obsolete, but it's still, just like most of us have DNA, Neanderthal DNA, some of these folders still have some yellow folder or yellow collection DNA, and it's a sign of bad DNA. Now, it's not that bad, and I'll get to it in a second, just as the fact that many of us have Neanderthal DNA, we still can lead fruitful lives, but it does have some implications. Now, I just want to remind everybody that in the tool, the National Discipline Lead has some buttons available, and these are the 2 that I had available as I'm assigned for the tool, at least the National Discipline Lead role. You can see the tool, and the first one is National CPS Revision. And that's what we recommend everybody do, all the national discipline leads do when they're ready to start the revision for a conservation practice standard, is to use that button. But in the past, that button was not available. And so some of those folders that were created with this bad DNA, the indication is that yellow icon within the folder. Now, I said that it's bad, but it's really not that bad. There's ways to overcome it. And one of the things, just as an illustration, it's one of the few things that will change is that when you open up the edit collection for a yellow folder, yellow collection, excuse me, when you open that up, you'll see that the user profiles window is all grayed out, meaning you can't do anything with it. And it will have, down at the bottom where you see this yellow arrow, you'll see a link to collection template. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to unclick that, all right, and then you can move forward. So that's one of the few things that are bad about these yellow folders. But how bad is that? Well, it's really not that bad, but it's probably a good idea if it's going to be less work to get rid of those yellow folders. So as you saw, the water management engineers, we have 5 of them. One of them I know I'm going to ask Bill Rec, that's the first bullet point, to go in and just delete all of that work, and we'll just start over again. When I say all of that work, it really wasn't that much. It was just the original practice standard was put into the system, into the DMS, and then we haven't started any real revisions yet. So in that case, where there's not much work done, Bill Rec can delete those folders, and we'll just start over again from the very beginning. And that's a good solution if there's not very much work done. Now, if a lot of work done has been done in one of those yellow folders, it can be left. There's a couple differences, and I don't want to talk about, I already talked about that check mark, the other things, but there's nothing that can't be handled. You can have that those yellow collections, and we can make those changes, and you should be fine. And if you do have a lot of work but want to get rid of the yellow folders anyway, drop a line to Carrie Goodrich or Bill Rec, and they can. They think they have a way of preserving all those files, storing them somewhere else, and then recreating so your collections don't have that yellow icon, and you're good to go again. Now, all of this, if you don't have that yellow icon, don't even worry about this. But eventually, it's likely you'll see at least one folder in one collection in the DMS that you're working with that's got that yellow icon. And just be aware, if you haven't done anything yet, it's probably a good idea just to delete it and start from scratch. All right, so that covers those yellow collections. I'm going to start demoing 2 things. Now it's the collection creation. That's kind of shifting gear here. There's at least two times when you're going to want to create a collection which is not part of the automation that's built into the tool. The first one is the IRC comments, and the second one is the archives. Now, both of these are possible, but the IRC is actually required. That is to say, when a new revision of a practice standard is done, the National Discipline Lead is going to go in there and create an IRC comments collection. Now, you may ask, why wasn't this done already? Why isn't this done automatically? And we're going to ask, I think, the contractors in the next version to do this automatically, but for the time being, it's not. So I'm going to get out of my slideshow for a second and bring you up to the tool, the DMS, and just show you what I'm talking about. All right, so here is the tool, and on the left you see the window which has all the folders, the collections, and I'm going to go down to the water management engineering one and just check. Okay, so I've been working recently in 320, and in the 2019 folder, let me enlarge this a little bit. Come on. Okay, I'm not going to enlarge it. Under 2019, you can see that little Chiron, or I forget what they're called, but those little arrows. Expand that. Hey, there is an IRC comments folder right there. But when I go to the 388, under the 2019 folder, there is nothing there. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make sure that you're actually located over the collection that you want to add the IRC comments to, and you're going to right-click. All right, so right-click. Now I want a new collection. The new collection, I'm just going to name it IRC Comments. And I cannot spell, or actually I can spell, but I can't type. And it's just going to be general, and then I'm going to save, and boom, now I have it. All right, so the reason we have this folder is when a practice standard goes out for internal review, all the states need a place to put their reviews. And if you neglect or forget to create this comment, the IRC comments collection, the states and the centers will have no place to put their reviews. So this is just, you really need to do this. It's best to do it as soon as you create the 2019 folder, 2019 collection. But it's, as you saw, it's pretty simple. But if you don't do it, you'll probably be getting some phone calls. Now, the other thing I want to mention is here's another possible collection that you can create. This is not required. It's optional. If, as a National Discipline Lead, you have some archived documents that you would like to get into the system, you can just say, well, under 388 here, the base folder, or I would call it, I think, the parent folder, I can do exactly the same thing. I can say new collection, and I'm just going to call this one archive. Now, I want to emphasize this is not a place for the documentation of changes file. This is something that you might have some documents that you've been hoarding since, I don't know, since 1983 or something like that, that aren't really relevant to any current revisions, but you don't want to throw them out. You want to make sure that they're available for posterity. And so you can create a folder like that. And it looks like I kind of messed that one up and I put it in the wrong place. It looks like, let me just play with this just for a second. So if I open this up, nope, I did it correctly, sorry. It's, I was a little bit fooled by the way it was showing up. But that is an archive collection. It's not part of any year folder, but it is part of the 388, the general practice standard folder. So again, that is something that the NDL can do. The IRC comments, you have to do that. And for the archives, that is optional. I'm going to go here now. Just as a quick review, first of all, you can tell already I've been using folder as much as I've been using the word creation. That's an error on my part. We should be talking about collections, but again, the only reason is there is no edit or create folder command. There is only a create collection command, or delete or edit collection. And right-click is your friend. In the DMS, if you're kind of stumbling around and you think, how do I do this? Right-click is your friend. Right-click on the folder, right-click on the command, right-click on things, and worst-case scenario is it won't give you what you need, but often it does. So just remember, right-click is your friend. All right, I want to talk about now assigning a workflow. All right, now, one of the things that these widgets, when I talk about the widgets, I'm talking about on that CPS management screen, you have, for example, create a national standard or update a national standard. Those buttons create a bunch of folders with a bunch of attributes, workflows, things like that that are already assigned. But there's one place where you are going to have to assign a workflow, and that is with the network effects diagram. All right, so I'm going to go through that. How do you assign a workflow? So I'm going to go to the 2019 folder collection. I'm never going to learn to say folder instead, but and then I'm in the 2019 folder, and you can see that I in the middle pane here, I see the list of all the files that are part of the 2019 folder. And now, let's say that I want to work on, or I have done, the network effects diagram. Now, the network effects diagram is going to be done in MS Word. It is not going to be done within the DMS itself. So in order to get it into the 2019 folder, I am going to check in other. So I check in other, and it asks me, well, let's browse through your hard drive or whatever you're connected to find the folder. So I'm going to browse, and here, and this is just an aside, it's got nothing to do with the DMS, but I'm really, you know, I always say I have a love-hate relationship with SharePoint, but I do think that they have some cool features. This is where I have synced this particular folder that the water management engineers are working on. So it's available right on my hard drive, and I don't have to go to SharePoint. I'm technically going to SharePoint, but I'm not actually. It's effortless, and I don't have to copy a file onto my hard drive and then upload it into the DMS. So these files that you see are actually on SharePoint right now, but I have access to them in my File Explorer on my computer. And you can see there I have made this one dummy network effects diagram, which I am going to now check in. All right, so I found it. I'm going to upload it or check it in. That's actually the term that I need. And here's the one thing that you're going to have to do with the network effects diagram. All right, now you can see the name, the collection, the content type, all those fields are accurately filled out. All right, for example, the name is the dummy network effects diagram .docx. But under the workflow, what I'm going to want to do is I am going to want to pull this down and say network effects diagram. That is under workflow, I'm going to choose network effects diagram. Now here's the effect that has. It creates or adds the workflow to this particular file. So now, for example, under status, you can see that there are three options: initial draft, NDL review, and ECS. That's, what is ECS? Ecological, I apologize to the ECS people. I don't remember what that stands for. But that, as this document gets sent to different people, you can change the status of it. So that workflow is specific to this particular MS Word file for network effects. And if you don't do this, if you do not change the workflow, it's just going to have initial draft and final, and you won't be able to send it to anyone. Now, if I say OK, I know what's going to happen. It's going to give me an error because I didn't add the practice code down below. And just as an FYI, I'll open this. These are the two things. I'm not going to type them in, but it would be practice code and standard name, and then you would be good to go. All right, then you would say OK, and then it's uploaded as initial draft. All right. Let me, from current slide, we're going to do one more demo, I think, and then call it a day. I'll open the floor to questions and any particular subjects you want to see covered. Assigning a team lead. This is something that the National Discipline Lead can do within the DMS. All right, so let's go and see how that's done. I'll go to the DMS here. I will choose, say, for the 2019, the 320. I will right-click on that collection. So check out where the mouse is. It's hovering over the 2019 collection, which is under the 320 irrigation canal practice standard. So I right-click here, and I edit the collection. Okay, again, this is why understanding that a folder is a collection is a folder is important, because you're not going to see the word folder. I get this window that opens up. I can go to the user profiles. We've already added some user profiles. These are the water management engineers at the center, plus our acting National Discipline Lead right now is Claire. So if I wanted to go over here, and I'm also a National Discipline Lead, if I wanted to go over here and change, say, Kelly Scott to the National Discipline Lead or National Team Lead, I can just do that here, and then I'll save it, and boom, that's done. All right, so I'm already 21 minutes into this, so I'm going to just open the floor for any questions and any suggestions for further topics. But that was it. That is our hot topic number 1.